Hey everyone, just here getting set up. Sorry for not saying anything. I'm gonna invite Alfie here in a minute, so you'll start hearing him in a minute. Uh, Let me just. How's everyone doing today? Um, what's up? How's it going? Okay, so I think I gotta change this background for a minute. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't change that. We will start recording here in just a moment. I like, for some reason, I like that. I don't know why. I'm just gonna go, I think that's fine. It's kind of roughly the same color scheme. Not really. Okay, I think we'll go with the scribbles. I like how minimalist it is, but we're just gonna go back. Waiting for Alfie to join. I'm gonna check the audio levels real quick. See how I sound. There's the channel. For some reason, I can't find it when I absolutely need to. Okay, I sound pretty good. Let's go. Um, how's everyone doing today? And just waiting for Alfie to join. Let me just close Canva real quick. I just want to make sure I'm using all possible RAM for this. I don't want anything to crash. I'm just gonna tweet it out real quick. Just so people can join. Um, Come on, Alfie, join. Where you at? Hold on. Could never find anything in Google Docs. Oh, there's Alfie. There he is. What is going on, Alfie? I'm gonna add you in just a second. Um, just sending something to someone on Discord. Yo, what is up? Alfie, what's up?
What's up? What's up?
You ready to shit on Raiders? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't hate it, but well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Uh, I'm just testing the levels. You sound great, by the way. Um,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
a little bit. I'm a little bit, under the weather right now, but I sound like Austin Butler.
Save that for the episode. Save that for the episode. That's great. But hold on. I'm kind of under the weather too. So, but we'll power through this. Just let me just take off these slides, and then okay. I think everything looks good, and then. And then I'll count us down like normal, and then I'll play the intro, and then I'll intro us, and you know the drill. You know the drill.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific order? Actually, no. Do the what you've been watching. I'll do it on the fly. So
Yeah.
I just
Sure.
okay. Okay, so I'm gonna. Let me turn off the background music. I don't think any was playing, but I'm just going to. Okay, so I'm counting us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Real Lovers Podcast. I am your host, as always, Marley Silverbrand, and joining me today, Alfie Amaya. How you doing? Welcome back again to the Real Lovers Podcast.
Thank you. Hey, Marley. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
Looking forward to talk about some movies.
Yeah, exactly. Always glad to talk movies with a fellow movie lover like yourself. For anyone that doesn't know, I've been doing this series for not too long, for about basically a month now. I'm watching every single movie in the Letterboxd Top 250. And this week's featured movie is going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark, the 1981 Steven Spielberg film that started it all for Harrison Ford, I guess. If you want to be cliche about that. But before we get into that topic, we always do a little promotion for this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube right now, give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. Oh, I need to get my thumb in frame. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on podcast platforms afterwards, also just rate us and review us. Let us know how we're doing. Rate us 5 stars, just because that helps us in the algorithm. And if you don't like the podcast, or if there's anything we can do in the future to improve this podcast in either way, just let us know in the comments. Just rate us 5 stars, because we're awesome like that, and then tell us what we could do to improve. That's my challenge to everyone listening right now. But yeah, Elvie, how's your day been, by the way?
Well, it's been okay. I've been a little sick in the last couple days, and but I'm sounding better. I actually lost my voice a couple days ago, but I'm doing a lot better, and now I sound like Austin Butler.
Look, that just means that by the end of this podcast, you're gonna have an Oscar, right? If you sound like yeah. This is your Oscar award-winning performance here.
This is my campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to the Lady Gaga School of Campaigning.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm sorry that you haven't been feeling very well. I haven't been feeling very well either, but we're gonna power through this, because we're just champs. That's who we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But before we get into our featured review for Raiders of the Lost Ark, we always do what we've been watching segment. So, Alfie, what have you been watching recently?
Well, I've watched a couple movies. Last night I watched Aliens in the theater for the first time in the theater. And
nice.
I mean, yeah. And it's weird because I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, and I actually shamelessly really like all of them. Even, I know a lot of some of them aren't very good, but I love all of them. But always Aliens, I don't know, it always felt a little kind of like the odd man out of the franchise, because it's really, I feel like it's a whole different genre than the other Aliens films. But seeing in the theater was really an experience. I still think, even though it's very different from the Alien franchise, I do think it's a great film.
Yeah, I'm going to out myself right now. I have not seen any of the Alien movies in the franchise. I have the Blu-ray, the Ridley Scott Blu-ray, on my shelf, and it's unopened. It's in shrink wrap still. So please, Alfie, don't leave.
That's fine. Actually, funny enough that we're talking about Raiders today. Actually, at the beginning of the year, I actually had never seen any of the Indiana Jones movies before.
Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, on Twitter you are watching all of Steven Spielberg movies this year for 2023. That's your goal, to watch every single one?
Yeah, I'm watching all of them in chronological order. Actually, another film that I watched last night, 2 days ago, it was Schindler's List.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that when I was prepping you. You said you didn't really want to talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm just I'm up to Schindler's List. I'm not gonna talk about it because I think everything has been said about Schindler's List. But anyway, I am watching all the Spielberg's films, and so yeah, that's how I ended up watching at least the trilogy of Indiana Jones. I haven't seen Crystal Skull yet.
Yeah, it's I don't know if I recommend anyone to watch Crystal Skull, to be honest. I'm just
Yeah,
I think
I'll do it. I'll do it because I kind of have to now. I'm
yeah,
like I'm like too into the game for me to just give up.
yeah, exactly. It's just you got to finish it out. Just kind of like you have to like how I feel like I have to watch Indy 5 even though I think that movie is kind of I don't understand why that movie is coming out and the trailer just didn't really hit me. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, back to Aliens. Like, what you love most about like the movie besides like the experience of seeing it in the theater for the first time, which is absolutely incredible, by the way.
Yes, yes. And I mean, it is James Cameron, and
Mm-hmm.
it does have all of James Cameron's staple when it comes to, first of all, great action sequences, amazing production design, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. Also, the negatives about James Cameron's films, because the script is kind of thin. And to be honest, I'm still not a fan of the first half of Aliens. I do still think it loses a lot of time introducing characters that don't matter, and I don't like that. But the second half is just so incredible that I'm willing to look away from that.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of James Cameron's like staple. Like, it usually takes a while for his films to kind of like pick up steam, but his final act, like James Cameron, say what you want about like pretty much any of his films, but like the final acts of his film are always really great. Like Titanic, the boat sinking, Avatar. I guess the kind of like a boat sinking in Avatar: Way of Water. Spoilers for that movie, but I don't know.
Another
James Cameron.
sinking ship.
Yeah, exactly. James Cameron knows how to sink a ship. Let's just say that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But yeah.
so I watched that. What else? I watched a new Brandon Cronenberg film, Infinity Pool, as well.
Yeah, this is something that's been on my watch list recently because I've been a big fan of Mia Goth ever since Pearl and and X as well. But what you think of Infinity Pool?
Infinity Pool, it was interesting. I do love Mia Goth. I've been a huge fan of hers for years now. Since I saw her in A Cure for Wellness, like 5 years ago, and I love that she's always the highlight of her films most of the time. But unfortunately, she's usually picking films that aren't very good,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. So that's why I think X and Pearl has done like a huge impact on her career right now, because whenever you think of those two films, they've been very well regarded in
Mm-hmm.
the by critics and the horror community. So that's why I'm very happy that she's getting more attention now. But Infinity Pool, I have to say, it is Brandon Cronenberg's last previous film, Possessor. That was an incredible film. That was actually on my top three of 2020. And this one is being sold as being insane and kind of impactful. But I have to say that it was kind of boring. So I don't know if it was because of the marketing, that was how the film was being sold as being, like a crazy Cronenberg film. And then I watched it and I was like, I'm kind of not having a good time. I don't know where this is going. This is really nothing's really happening in this film at all.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really interesting. Just because I think I don't know. It seems like this film is like very polarizing. I for one like I feel like I'm not very familiar with much of like any of the Cronenberg's work, just because body horror really like kind of it makes me queasy. Like I watched the David Cronenberg's film that came out last year. What was off the top of my head?
Crimes of the Future.
Yeah, Crimes of the Future, and I feel like that was the most tame for like body horror, like
Yeah.
from what I hear. And even that film, I was like having to look away and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
And
I love.
I really love Crimes of the Future. I think it did end up on my top 10 of last year. So I really love that one. And as I mentioned, I love Possessor, Brandon Cronenberg's previous film. That actually, I think you would do very well with that one because it does have a little bit of body horror, but not. It's more of like, if you're okay like watching something like Zodiac, for example, you should be okay with that.
Okay. Uh, I'll definitely check this out. Like, would you recommend, like, even though it was kind of boring, would you recommend that people still kind of check out like this film, like even if it's just
I
because
think
it's necessary?
I think that, as I mentioned, I love Mia Goth because she's always a highlight, and I think that she is incredible in Infinity Pool. I don't think it's her best performance, but she's great in it, and I think it is worth watching. At least if you're a fan of hers, it's still worth watching.
Yeah. And I think it's actually out on video on demand a little bit later
Yeah,
this
yeah,
week.
it is.
Yeah, so everyone should go check that one out because it's kind of one of those films that bombed at the box office because it's like and not a lot of people are rushing out to see that like Cocaine Bear, but but yeah. Anything else you've been watching?
Yeah, there is one more film that I watched, unfortunately, and that was The Whale, Darren Aronofsky's new film.
Okay, so we were I was in your DMs like talking about this film and we're both shitting on it. So this is our opportunity to just I know a lot of people are praising this film like crazy and are saying what a wonderful performance by Brendan Fraser in The Whale. Everyone needs to give him best actor. I
I don't
Alfie,
agree with that.
I don't agree with it either. It's like
I'm sorry. Like, here's the thing. It's a very difficult uh, reaction that I have because I mean, I love Brandon. Everybody loves him, and I'm very happy for him that he's getting all this attention. He's getting more work now. But I really didn't like this movie, and I didn't like his performance at all.
yeah, I didn't like his performance at all. It felt very fat phobic and almost very homophobic too, where it's I I don't know. Like it's basically about like a guy that like after his partner dies, he just kind of like his whole life kind of falls apart. And I feel like the way that Brendan Fraser kind of portrays like that character, it made it seem like oh like when it's like oh when you're gay like if your partner dies or like leaves you you're just like a big old mess and I'm like that's not the case with everyone and I feel and I don't like the way that this movie is kind of like painting like the LGBTQ community like in that way and I feel like a lot of people are overlooking that and it's very frustrating for me like I
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, I agree with that. But honestly, I don't think like it's kind of like what I thought about Knock at the Cabin. I do think it is the reason why those two films didn't really work out for me. I think it's because of the director's choices that he made because he both Aronofsky and Shyamalan were just trying to say something that was some very important thing, very deep, but unfortunately they didn't really expand on those themes a lot. So it just felt superficial and kind of pointless.
Yeah, I would to back up Knock at the Cabin just like a little bit. I feel like I agree with you about the whale being like very superficial, but I think Knock at the Cabin wasn't as bad uh, as the whale. It like
Oh yeah, I agree, and you know that I didn't like Knock at the Cabin at all, but I do think
mhm.
that the whale The thing is, and that's coming around to the, to the difference between both filmmakers, because I don't think, like, my complaints about Knock at the Cabin is that Shyamalan just doesn't have, I don't believe, like, the right skill set to kind of come across with the themes that he was trying to make. But
Mhm.
Aronofsky, he's very known for being very, transgressive and very kind of, he utilizes shock value a lot, which
Mhm.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think also like another issue that I had that I expressed on my Letterboxd review is that this film is also written by like someone that writes plays that's in the in the theater world, and I feel like that transition between going from theater to an actual movie didn't translate well at all, and I felt like Aronofsky kind of like he basically did tried his hardest to make it as cinematic as possible with like what was given to him, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I don't think the film, well, I don't think the play was really made for that kind of adaptation. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it did, I wish it could have made more changes to the script, because that's one of the other things that I didn't like, because all the characters, aside from Brandon Fraser, all the other characters kind of just seem to exist within that house, that apartment. And
Mm-hmm.
once they they left the door, they kind of just don't exist anymore, because every single person, even Sadie Sink's character and Samantha Morton's character, they just kind of feel like their whole existence revolves around uh, Charlie. And it's weird because, even though, there's that deep hatred that Sadie Sink's character has, and it's weird that she's just so focused on him.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. Although, like, if I were to highlight like one person that actually did well in this film, and that's Hong Chow. I believe she's actually nominated for best supporting actor, right?
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah, she is, and yeah, she's incredible. I've been a fan of Hong Shao for a long time. I remember watching her in the Watchmen series on HBO. She was incredible in that, and she's great in this, and that's because I think her character also, it's the one that kind of has a lot more background to her, that it's really the only character that seems to have her own life, that she exists apart from Charlie. And I
Mhm.
think that's why, and of course she's a great actress, so it worked very well in the story. And yes, she was my favorite performance of that film, but it wasn't, um, I really connected with her character a lot, and that's why it really pains me that I really don't like the movie, because she's just incredible and I love her character.
Yeah, exactly, and it also pains me as well that we all love Brendan Fraser, like you said. It just pains me that like his comeback is coming off of The Whale, and I'm like, can it just be a better film? Like to be like I know a lot of people are talking about Batgirl, but like especially now with like with the Flash trailer coming out and everyone saying like, oh, Aquaman has scored really poorly in like test screenings, but so did Batgirl, and Batgirl got canceled. Like I want to see like Brendan Fraser's like performance in Batgirl, because from what I hear, it was absolutely incredible, and the fact that we have the Whale and not Batgirl, it's upsetting.
Yeah, it is upsetting. And yeah, I think the Whale really, at the end, it has a lot of same problems that most recent Aronofsky films have. Aronofsky, I have a really, like, a love hate relationship with Aronofsky, because there's a couple of films from him that I love. The Wrestler, Black Swan, Requiem for a Dream, even Pie. I love Pie.
Mhm.
And now, since Black Swan, I mean, doing making Noah, then Mother, and now The Whale. It just kind of, those are like three films that I didn't like at all. I didn't like Mother. Um, but this, and that's really, I think The Whale has the same problems as Mother, and so that makes me a little bit disappointed because I don't feel like Aronofsky isn't really growing as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. So that's really disappointing for me.
Yeah, his last, like, even Noah, like, I don't even remember Noah, and it seems like, not trying to, like, judge anyone for, like, going, like, down this path, but it seems like there's been a lot of, like, like, religious, like, themes, like, in his movies lately, and not like his past movies have had religious themes, but, like, The Whale also has religious themes, like, Noah is basically a biblical story. I don't know. It's like maybe it's just because he's getting older and he's like maybe he found his faith like later in life and stuff like that. It's just I don't know. It's just weird. As someone that's agnostic and like doesn't really care like what someone believes as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. Like it I don't know. It's kind of weird just seeing like a lot of his films just kind of have like those religious themes. So
Yeah, and that's the thing because I'm not really able to like pinpoint what his point of view is at all from those films because I feel like Mother has like that's a very like nihilistic film,
mhm.
and it's really, I think he said, I did back in 2017. I went to a Q&A that he did for a Mother screening, and he said that he wrote that script in, I believe, a weekend.
Mhm.
And he did like that film that we see in Mother, that's like his first draft. And I mean, you can kind of tell, but I don't think he was really saying anything at all. I don't think Mother was very deep at all. I didn't think it worked as a metaphor because I think what he was trying to say is so obvious. And The Whale also had that similar issue. So I don't know what. I don't know if I would be excited for like Aronofsky's next film.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm kind of with you. Although even like when his next film is announced or comes out, I'll probably see it just because I'm a movie lover. But
Yeah, I'll see it, but I wouldn't have like, if something gets announced of him directly, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, new Aronofsky film. We're gonna like I'm gonna watch it, but I don't think I would be very excited if one is like announced now, and then I'll just wait for it to come out to kind of make my own criteria of that.
yeah, he's not like M Night Shyamalan where M Night Shyamalan doesn't really hit a lot, but you're always at least interested and your ears perk up like when he announces a film and who's going to be in it. Because I remember when Knock at the Cabin like came out, uh, like the announcement was Dave Bautista and M Night Shyamalan are teaming up. That immediately perked my ears because it's like because one of the greatest actors currently and like probably one of the greater directors of our generation are teaming up to make a film. It's like that's really great. But is there anything else you've been watching, Alfie?
No, I think that's it. How about you?
I haven't really watched too much this week besides Raiders of the Lost Ark, but since we're basically going to be not talking all that great about that film, I decided to kind of like balance everything out and we'll kind of watch films that I love. And the first movie I want to talk about is The Menu. Uh, I to be honest, I have no idea why it took me so long to watch this film because I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Uh, this is one of the greater films from last year. A tremendous performance by Ralph Fiennes, and I really loved Triangle of Sadness last year. It was my number one, but I feel like if I saw this film instead of Triangle of Sadness, I think it would have replaced my number one because I think everything that Triangle of Sadness was trying to do, The Menu does like 10 times better. I'm not really the biggest fan of Anya Taylor Joy. Like the chess show that was on Netflix. I never watched, and I hear a lot of people loved. And maybe I'll go back and revisit it, but it just didn't. It
It's
didn't
okay.
like. It didn't strike a. It like I watched one episode. And I was like, eh. I'm like,
It's a really okay, like, I mean, it's well made, it's well directed, the performances are great, but I don't like, it's weird that people praise it as one of the best shows of all time, which is insane because it was just like really okay.
yeah. But Anya Taylor Joy is just like an absolute star in this movie. I don't really want to talk too much about it because I went in like completely cold and like had like probably one of the better experiences I've ever had like watching a movie. I really wish I saw this in theaters just because every single shot in this film is like absolutely meticulously crafted and like everyone's blocked like really well. The mise en scène is like just like on point, and I don't know. It's a perfect eat the rich story. But Alfie, have you seen the menu?
Yes, I actually watched it in theaters
Mm-hmm.
when it came out, and um, I don't know why people think that I don't like this movie. I do like this movie a lot, but I think the reaction of some people have been really strange about it. It's kind of the same reaction like when the Queen's Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just talking about it. That's it. It's like, okay, like I watched this film in theaters. I had a great time. I thought it was really funny, and it's an overall great time. But there were people who were, for example, like really angry that it didn't get like a screenplay nomination, and I'm like, I don't. And people like, this movie, like, it's so smart and it's so deep, and I'm like, I don't think that was the point of
Yeah.
the movie. I don't think there's a lot to analyze, then that's totally fine. I don't think every film, like, has to have like a lot of stuff to be analyzed. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that people were like really over analyzing the movie, and I did really like it a lot. It's from the director Mark Mylod. He
Mm-hmm.
directs most of the episodes on Succession, which is one of my favorite shows, which is ending this year, and I'm devastated. But anyway, um, he's great. He's a great director, and I think this being his first film, that was pretty great. And of course, Ray Fiennes. I'm a huge fan of him, and I think he gave an incredible performance in this film. And I could tell like he was having a great time playing this character.
Yeah, I could tell he was having a great time too, and just everyone involved, I feel like, was having a great time. Uh, I wanted to freaking like punch Nicholas Holt's character in the face like immediately, like 5 seconds in. Uh, for anyone that's
Yeah,
seen it, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Uh,
yeah,
yeah,
he was great in it. Also, coming back to Hong Chao again, she was great in this film as well.
yeah. She was absolutely great in this film. And just like a shout out to like the production design of this
Oh
film
yeah,
of just like just the way everything is placed and just like the way this film is shot. Like I haven't seen Succession, but after watching this, uh I'm really like interested to like check that out.
oh yeah,
Like
it is. Yeah, I strongly recommend that. And yeah, it is a good film, and something that I really love about it, and that actually people don't mention a lot, it's the score. I really
mhm,
love the score of the menu. It's from this guy named Colin Stetson, who also scored Hereditary,
mhm.
and he usually uses like saxophones to make his scores, and it's just his scores are always incredible. And I actually listen to the score for the menu a lot. Like when I'm going on a run or something, and I just really enjoy it a lot. And I wish it could get like more attention because people don't really mention that much.
Yeah, huge shout out to the menu. Go in completely cold like I did, and you can watch the menu now like I did on HBO Max. The next film I'd like to talk about is a film that actually replaced the film on the Letterboxd Top 250, uh, and that film is Coraline. Coraline is now 247 on the Letterboxd top 250,
As it
and
should.
as it should, yes, as it should, since we obviously hate Raiders of the Lost Ark. Uh, still, we still appreciate Raiders of the Lost Ark, but this is. I was totally surprised when I woke up one morning and I checked like the list, and this film uh, uh, made it onto the list. Alfie, have you seen Coraline?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, funny enough, I'm a huge fan of horror films. I think horror is probably my favorite genre. But it really started with a couple films, and one of them was Coraline that I watched when I was maybe a little too young to watch it. But still, I'm not gonna hold my parents accountable for that because I think anybody would let their child watch Coraline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was so scary. I used to have nightmares when I was a child after watching Coraline. But it's I watched it again last year actually for Halloween, and it's just such an an incredible watch. It holds up amazingly, and it's just so entertaining and it's still really terrifying. It's still really scary.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying, and I've seen this film multiple times too, and I own it. I own it on Blu-ray, but I this is the first film, to my knowledge, that I saw in 3D, and also the first film that introduced me to Leica Studios, and I kind of fell in love with like Leica after watching this film. I'm a huge fan of stop motion animation, and what Leica's doing there up there in Hillsboro, Oregon, is like absolutely incredible. I love everything that they do. I like how all of their movies all their movies are stop motion, but everything is kind of made just from like everyday like items, and everything it has like this very like home quality like feel to it, and you just feel it feels inviting, which is totally like the right balance for like a film that's kind of like horror, because it's scary but it's also inviting, and that's what this film totally like uh and that's the feeling that I totally have like when watching
Yeah.
watching this film.
Yeah, it's kind of like the world itself, the world behind the door. It's like really, there's something off with it, but it's so inviting that you're kind of like ignoring it.
yeah, exactly. um you, I don't think Coraline is streaming anywhere. I think because I obviously watched it on Blu-ray, but I think I saw it was streaming on Pluto TV. Like if you don't have like a copy, so go ahead and do that. But yeah, because Coraline it is really incredible, and everyone should see it. And hopefully
It's,
more people will see it because it's on the top 250. Uh, but that's pretty much all I've been watching this week. It's been kind of a busy, crazy week. Like as Alfie mentioned, like you haven't been feeling very well, and I haven't been feeling very well either. Uh, but we're powering through this week like champs. It's kind of like we're gonna power through our review of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay. Uh, I'll cut this. I'll cut this out, and starting again in 3, 2, 1. And that was the trailer from Raiders of the. I'm gonna start that again. Sorry. This is why I go live, just because I always mess up. I always mess up like the transition. um. Okay. Starting again in 3, 2, 1. And that was the trailer from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones movie directed by Steven Spielberg. I'm going to read the synopsis here from IMDb. In 1936, archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis can obtain its awesome powers, which is a weird synopsis. Like when I pulled from this,
yeah.
it's super basic, and IMDb, you can do so much better with it, to be honest. But We might as
Yeah,
well change the real lovers right now to the real haters because we don't like this film very much, right, Alfie?
I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, as I mentioned, I am watching of Spielberg films, and I had never seen an Indiana Jones movie before.
Mm.
Before this year, and I was really excited because most of my friends who've seen them really loved Indiana Jones movies, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm sure I'm missing this incredible film. And I was like, even the day I watched it, I'm like, oh my god, guys, I'm watching Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time today. And then I watched and I was like, that was kind of, I didn't like that.
Yeah, I know what this is a rewatch for me. Obviously, if for people watching on the stream, I own like the trilogy box set, just the DVD, not the Blu-ray. But uh, I was a big fan of like these movies like growing up, and watching this first film with 2023 eyes makes this like there's a lot of problematic things like that happen in this film. Like for example, like the main girl that he teams up with, like there's a serious age gap between Indiana Jones and like even like the first like scene like when he's teaching like the class like the archaeology class, like there's like that weird shot where that girl is just falling in love with Indiana Jones and I'm just kind of like throwing herself like when she like, you know what scene I'm talking about where her eyelids come down and says something like
She's
love
like,
you.
I love you.
Yeah, which is super weird and off-putting because I don't really expect something like that from Steven Spielberg. Like Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg, it felt very Michael Bay. Like Michael Bay was inspired by that scene to basically just have women throw each other at men. It just seemed it just felt very odd to me.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think that there's a lot of stuff in Raiders that it just don't make a lot of sense to me because like well that scene that you mentioned, like I guess he just he's like Spielberg's trying to set him up as this kind of like heartthrob and everyone's in love with him, but after watching three films I don't really understand why would someone fall in love with Indiana Jones at all.
Well, he's basically like just not saying like all archaeologists are like this, obviously, but what they paint what the picture that Steven Spielberg paints, especially for this film, is that Indiana Jones is just like he appropriates culture. That's what he does. He basically just comes
Yeah.
in and takes it and then profits off of it. And not like I said, not saying that all archaeologists are like this. A lot of them are actually like learning and like discovering like the culture and representing that culture well. But I didn't really see Indiana Jones like representing culture all that well like in this film. Like there's so many like problematic like themes like in this film, like the whole where he has to dress up like as uh like in the like the
I think it
Egyptian.
was in Egyptian, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like for one he doesn't have to do that because he already
Yeah,
it's not like he's sneaking around or anything like that. Like why was that
yeah,
even necessary?
yeah. It's weird because, and I have to say that I don't, I don't dislike all of the Indiana Jones movies. I would say that this one is the only one that I don't like. I really like Temple of Doom,
Mhm.
but probably because that was a lot darker, and I really like that. And but I would say that that movie is also pretty racist. But also, I think the movie that is I would say the best is The Last Crusade because it really I feel like Spielberg learned a lot from his previous two films, but this one like I don't. The thing is that I don't really see a lot of redeeming qualities in this movie. Like I don't understand why people love it so much, really.
Yeah, and like rewatching this film, it was very interesting to, especially like the opening sequence that basically is meme to death, like with the boulder and like it's iconic. Like like as much as like we don't like this film, we can't deny that that first action sequence is absolutely iconic, and I from based on that action sequence, this movie is basically just like a setup. Like to compare it to movies coming out today, it almost just it felt like a Marvel movie because it's just Steven Spielberg kind of like just showing like who this character is and what he can do, and and nothing really after that. Like we don't really dive deep into his character at all. It's just kind of like look at this badass character, and like look what he can do. Like he's also a teacher, and it's just like and it doesn't and even like the adventure he goes on. There's no real like like I don't really think he really like I don't know why the U.S. government like called on him to go find like this Ark of the Covenant because when it like spoilers for like a 30-year-old movie, but but the Nazis still ended up like getting the Ark of the Covenant and like using it, and it's what's the point? It's really just like a showcase for Harrison Ford in a way.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would say, when I bring it up, I do. Some people will be like, I know it's a movie, and that I need to suspend my disbelief, but it's weird to me that really it just makes me feel that that ending makes the whole movie kind of pointless. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I would say that personally, I would think that it kind of makes Indiana Jones a little bit of the villain of the movie because I mean, if he hadn't gotten involved, this Ark of the Covenant would have still killed all these Nazis because I mean nobody knew what's gonna happen when they opened it. But now, now this powerful thing is like on the hands of the American government, and they
Mm-hmm.
know what happens with it. And I'm like, I wish that you weren't here so they wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of just it opens up like the dangers of just archaeology in a way, where it's just like like kind of like going back to like Marvel, like with the whole Wakanda Forever, where they didn't want to like hand over their vibranium because like if it gets in the wrong hands, it's like like there goes their culture and stuff like that. And I don't think Steven Spielberg was like trying to like establish that theme of like the dangers of but like cultural appropriation because it was 1981 and
Yeah,
that wasn't
because
really
yeah,
on
and
on
also
anyone's mind. But
and also
go
he
ahead.
did it multiple times after that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've kind of like obviously like you've talked we talked before we started recording that you don't hate this film but you also don't understand that it you don't understand like the love behind it but like what are some of the things that you liked that you liked about this film.
I would say is that Spielberg has always been like known as like the father of the blockbuster
Mm-hmm.
when he started that with Jaws. But I would say that Raiders is kind of like more to do with like the kind of formula that blockbusters are using today. And I don't mean that as a negative thing, but um, I did really like that it is of course a film that I think it's just made to entertain people, even though its choices are I don't think Spielberg's choices are very great in the film,
Mm-hmm.
but I do love that it is really a showcase, the very first like great showcase of Spielberg's directing skills, because he hadn't really made like a lot of action stuff before. It was really his first time, and that's what I really love about it. It has some great action sequences, great set pieces, but still, because before that, I also watched his Spielberg's film 1941,
Hmm.
before that, and that movie is awful. That is the I would say that's the one Spielberg film that's just truly awful. But that film also had some really great action sequences that were really impressive. Um, and so yeah, that's why I don't understand. Like it doesn't really make sense to me. Like someone to love Raiders so much and then being like, yeah, but 1941 is kind of terrible.
Yeah, it's. I think like another like the story for Raiders is also by George Lucas and written by Lawrence Kasdan as well. And I'm not. I have to. I'm looking up right now if they were attached to any of the other films. To my knowledge, I don't think that they were attached. I don't think George Lucas was attached to Temple of Doom. I think he probably stepped away. And I don't know. I think it kind of shows. And I'm very interested to, since you haven't watched Crystal Skull, because George Lucas also uh, wrote the story for Crystal Skull, and no, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm just very intrigued to hear like your thoughts on that, just because George Lucas, he's not really the greatest writer in my opinion. Not really.
Yeah, I think it's like there's a certain group of directors who don't really excel in writing, but their real talent is on the visual aspect. Like George Lucas or James Cameron as well. They don't write like the greatest scripts, but their visual flair kind of just makes them worth watching. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I haven't seen Crystal Skull, but I'm aware of the reception that it had. So I'm sure that I'm gonna watch it like with an open mind. But I don't know what's gonna happen. And I mean, Kate Blanchett is in it, so that's a plus. Um, but
Yeah,
this one,
you're
yeah,
Tar girl. Lydia Tar.
yeah, Lydia Tarr is in
I
it.
totally
Uh,
to be honest, I totally forgot Kate Blanchett uh, was in Crystal Skull. Now that you said that, so
yeah,
now I kind of really want you to watch it, because for anyone that doesn't know, Alfie is one of the bigger Lydia Tar supporters,
uh,
bigger Todd Field supporters out there. So
that's the
yeah.
biggest fan. And it's weird because I think I've seen most of her films, and she has some really awful movies. Like I wouldn't say she's hit or miss, but there is a handful of films that are just absolutely unwatchable that she made.
Mhm.
But I had this Crystal Skull is really the only one that I really haven't seen because I hadn't seen the other three, and it would have been weird for me to just jump into the fourth one.
Mhm.
But now I'm ready, so I'll watch it eventually when I get to that year because I'm still like in the 1993, so I have a long way to go still to get to Crystal Skull.
Yeah. But back to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Uh, I don't know. It's like there really isn't there honestly there really isn't much to say like about this film. I think we've kind of like like kind of discussed like that it's really just like a showcase film for Harrison Ford, and I
Not his act,
honestly
not an acting showcase,
yeah
by the way.
yeah it not really, I wouldn't even say acting showcase. It's just more of like a playground for him to just kind of like have
Yeah,
fun and
yeah.
like
Uh,
go ahead.
Yeah, there is something that I really. It's just that it's just so nonsensical to me that, of course, I watched Temple of Doom after Raiders, and it's weird to me because I did think Temple of Spielberg did learn a lot on Temple of Doom. For example, I don't think Temple of Doom and Last Crusade didn't really push a lot to, about oh, this stuff needs to be in a museum like he's in a, like in Raiders. And it's weird because apparently Temple of Doom is a prequel to Raiders, and I'm
Hmm.
like, what happened? Because if it's a prequel, it does show like a really strange character that that don't really even feel like the same person. It's like a kind of like like a backwards evolution of the character. Because I have no idea why Temple of Doom is a prequel.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know that it was a prequel.
It is
I haven't seen Temple
yeah.
of Doom in a really long time, and I do kind of like that it's kind of getting a resurgence just because of Ki Kwan uh, performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and everyone's kind of like rediscovering who he was as an actor and how he was introduced. And Short Round is just like really great, and that's probably what the main reason why I like Temple of Doom. And I didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
I didn't really
It's
look too much into whether it was a prequel or not. I just like the performances a lot in Temple of Doom.
Yeah, and that's the weird part because I actually didn't know it was a prequel until somebody told me, because it really there's like a little mention that it's a prequel like on Temple of Doom, but you don't really, if you miss it, like you're not gonna know that it's a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is crazy because I don't think it works as a prequel. So I think Spielberg should have just been like, it's a sequel, because it does feel like a sequel to
Mm-hmm.
Raiders, because I think it is better, and also because Spielberg learned a lot from his, I will say, mistakes, because I do think he does make a lot of mistakes in Raiders. He
Mm-hmm.
does fix a lot of some of it on Temple of Doom. So it's weird to me, like for example, on Temple of Doom, as I mentioned, Indiana Jones isn't that keen in, like, I need to like grab this stuff, and this stuff needs to be taken to a museum, and he's just like, uh, I need to get this stuff back to its people. And then Raider, who's supposedly after Temple of Doom, he's like on that mindset again of, um, I need to find the Ark of the Covenant. It needs to be a museum. And like that, this absolutely does not need to be in a museum. This thing needs to be destroyed. What are you saying?
Right. Don't open Pandora's box. Don't open Pandora's box.
Yeah, a
That's
literal box.
yeah, literal box. I yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. I do agree with you that I think Steven Spielberg like learned a lot from Raiders to Temple of Doom, but I feel like that's kind of the case with each and every one of his films. Like Raiders was the kind of like the I think I actually heard an interview with him how this is kind of like the first, because Jaws he would kind of had like unlimited reigns to kind of just make that film, like unlimited budget. He could kind of do whatever he want. He could. It was his playground. And this he was kind of a little bit more like tightened down to like the characters and even like the production too, because I think that the production budget for the first film was kind of limited, at least for a film back then. So he had to learn how to rein himself in as compared to like Jaws, where it's like build this entire shark and like film out in like in the middle of the ocean, or not literally out in the middle of the ocean, but you know what I mean. It it uh, it seemed like Raiders is a little bit more reined in than Jaws.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I just
Mm-hmm.
remember something really funny about the movie that I really laughed when I watched it, because I decided to like watch all of Spielberg's film before, because I watched The Fablemans back in December. And it is a very personal film about him, and people were like, "Oh yeah, there's a lot of like stuff in his whole pretty much all of his films about, little clues about things you see on The Fablemans." And I'm like, let me let's see. So that's what's really my reason behind it. And it's so funny to watch Raiders and to watch that scene in which there's this monkey who is uh telling people where Indiana Jones is, and I'm like, and then the monkey gets killed, and I'm like, that was really funny to me, now in context with The Fablemans.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but anyway, and before we start, I think we kind of said all that we need to say about Raiders. Like, we obviously don't like it's the worst out of the trilogy for
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. Uh, but did you have like a favorite moment, like a favorite scene? Like I know you like the action sequences, but like um, did you love the most from
Oh,
Raiders?
I really like the scene on the snake pit because I'm really terrified of snakes. Like I could never like even those that are at the zoo or like it's fine whatever. I could never do that. So that was like my scene. That was like my worst nightmare, and I was like, this is. I thought it. I mean, I was scared, but it was amazingly done, and that was really my favorite scene. Also, I do like the like I don't like the ending as part of the story, but I really like how it was done.
Hmm.
With the whole, like the melting bodies and stuff. I really love that. Great makeup work. Um, so yeah, I guess that's why I still think that I don't want people to think like I'm like anti fun, because I know it is a fun movie. Um, because I understand why people like watch it and like have fun with it, but I think that to me it's just so bad. The script is so bad that it's just kind of a little too jarring for me, and I feel like Spielberg has better films with like better action sequences with like better action set pieces as well. So I'm kind of I don't really feel any need to ever watch this movie again.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I obviously try and rewatch like these movies like not every year, but like whenever I'm kind of like feeling like a treasure hunty like or an adventure like movie. But even then, even now, like there's so many like adventure movies that I feel like that are better than Raiders. And like back then, there wasn't a lot of like adventure movies like this, and it was kind of like the first of its kind. So I feel like that like watching it now, you don't really like I don't really see like a sequel coming like the next film. Like it seemed like it's like because it's not that good, but even like in 1981 this was pretty fresh, but now like in 2023 it's like it seems like every other movie is like an adventure film, and they're like there's a lot better adventure films in this. So it's interesting kind of like watching the movie now with like all the adventure films that we have to compare to it.
Yeah, and also like I'm not denying how like iconic the film is and how influential it is, especially in the in the action genre because I know the film is used as well like in film school to like study action sequences, which I
Mm-hmm.
think it's great because I think they are great and I think it's great to study them in that regard. And I've never really heard anyone to like studying like the script of
Yeah.
Raiders because it's not it's not that kind of movie. But still, I respect it a lot. I'm not a Spielberg hater. I love Spielberg. Actually, Close Encounters of the Third Kind is my favorite film of all time, and it was a little I was a little heartbroken that I didn't like Raiders that much.
Yeah. And maybe it was just like the hype. Like when you finally watched Raiders, it like you had like all this hype behind you because the on the last episode of this podcast, uh, Nat from Stoned and Social, she finally saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I was just eager to like to know what she thought of it, and she liked it, she appreciated it, but it's just like it didn't hit like everyone uh, like how everyone else was saying, just because it was constantly getting fed. I'm sure for you, Alfie, it was uh, like Raiders was just saying like it's the best movie of all time. It's the best movie of all time. So when you finally sat down to see it, like you're just like I don't know. It's like it's not really the best of all time.
Yeah,
Uh,
like it's okay, but I like now I'm like I wouldn't say even it like it's the best Indiana Jones movie.
yeah, and that's kind of like just the dangers of just overhyping a
Yeah.
movie.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really hold anyone like, like telling them like, oh my god, like why do you like this movie, or it's so dumb to like this film. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like if people like what they like I know there's people who really don't like Close Encounters, that they feel it's kind of like, if it's kind of incomplete or something like that. But I mean, I just absolutely love it, and I think it's totally understandable as well that people don't like it. But yeah, it was a really weird reaction from people when I said that I didn't like it. Because they're like, how can you not like this? What are the best films of all time? I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I don't see any of what you're saying in this movie.
And you know what? People shouldn't like hate on you for like not liking this film just because, as as I should say pretty much at the end of every podcast, film is subjective, and and not everyone's gonna like the same films that we like, and that's kind of like the beauty of like this art film, that like someone could like the worst movie of all time, and like and also hate the best movie of all time. It's like all like every there's a film out there for everyone, and just because you don't
Yeah.
like Raiders, there's probably another adventure film out there that you probably would like. Like, do you have like a favorite like adventure film that you would think is better than Raiders that does?
Um, let's see, because I honestly I really like Last Crusade a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know right now if it's up there like with my favorite adventure film, but I think I did think it was pretty good, and I think even Temple of Doom, those two films, I really see myself like rewatching them.
Mhm.
Not that constantly, but maybe next year I'll be like, I kind of want to watch Temple of Doom right now, or I want to watch The Last Crusade.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree with you. Last Crusade is the better Indiana Jones, just because it has like that father and son dynamic that this film just was lacking. And Sean Connery is absolutely like is like phenomenal
yeah,
in Last Crusade, and it like I actually kind of want to rewatch that tonight. To be honest, when we're done recording.
yeah, it is. It is a great film, and I
Mhm.
think as well, I really like that. For example, like Last Crusade didn't. It didn't have like this bombshell character, or it had it for a little bit. No spoilers, but I do think at least in Raiders, I I think the female characters are better than the ones in Temple of Doom,
Mhm.
because that character, Kate Capsha's character in Temple of Doom, is just so horribly written. It
Mhm.
probably one of the most pointless characters that have ever been put on screen. Like there was literally no reason for her to be in that movie.
Yeah, and like kind of going back to like what I was saying too about like how Last Crusade had the father and son dynamic. Temple of Doom also had that as well with Short Round and Indy, and like and how I said that Raiders of the Lost Ark just didn't have that aspect. Like you had the what's Karen Allen's character that apparently like they like she said like, oh, we met like 10 years ago, which seems a little creepy that they're like kissing in this movie. It's like I said at the beginning of the before we at the beginning of this conversation, the age gap was a little creepy for me. But
Yeah,
Steven Spielberg does like like he directs children really well, in my opinion, and like the whole Temple of Doom short round, and just like that aspect with kind of like short round kind of being like the son to Indiana Jones. I just I enjoyed that a lot more than Karen Allen's uh, character. But
yeah, because yeah, with his relationship with Karen Allen's character, I do think it is very creepy. Well, I think
mhm,
overall Indiana Jones is a very creepy character when it comes to like women,
mhm,
um, because even then, it's like kind of like the same issues that people have, like with James Bond or something like that. But I think that Indiana Jones is a little worse scenario because, as you mentioned, that there's an age gap between Karen Allen's character and him, and
Hmm.
they've done they imply that they had this fling like 10 years ago, and that added to the scene at the beginning with the students is a little creepy because I think like it's kind of implying that like Indiana Jones is like sleeping with his students, which is really insane.
Yeah, and like even like kind of piggybacking on what you said about like how like kind of comparing Indiana Jones to James Bond and how it could be worse on like how he treats women. Like it's just even like it like looking at the poster like Indiana Jones' shirt is like open and it's totally like appealing to women like oh look at this hunk of a man and stuff like that and it's like it's I don't know it's just kind of disgusting especially looking at with 2023 eyes. um
Yeah,
yeah.
and exactly because as you mentioned, Raiders does feel just like a kind of a playground for Harrison Ford, of him
Hmm.
just like being, the whole selling point of the movie is like him and him being hot, which is sure, but like I don't think like aside from that, he doesn't have like anything to stand by. Um, like any kind of attraction that people have to him because I do think he treats women horribly. Like as I mentioned, Temple of Doom is a prequel to
Hmm.
Raiders. So like in Raiders, there is no mention of Short Round. There is no mention of this Kate Capsha's character. Like even in Last Crusade, there is no mention of anyone. Like every single movie, he has like a different um,
Hmm.
love interest. Just like James Bond, but still, at least the last couple James Bond movies had the same love interest. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's still even that he does treat women horribly. He's always like, um, so he always assumed that women are like this woman is attracted to him, which kind of backfires to him in the Last Crusade. So that was good. But still, there's also the whole thing about in Raiders about him that his whole thing was like going to like this other places on continents, just like kind of stealing their stuff to bring them to a museum, and like I don't see myself like supporting any of that like that. And even him, it was kind of like a wake up call for him at the end of the movie, but still, uh, I think it was really pointless to make that movie and then just to make that point.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I don't know, and from what I hear, before doing the research before like recording, uh, I heard from someone that they wanted to make Marion Karen Allen's character like younger, like that was their main goal, and Steven Spielberg basically said, yeah, that that's probably going to be problematic, like especially with
Yeah.
like
Oh, that's
what they were
that's
going to do.
insane.
Yeah, absolutely insane. But uh, we've kind of. I feel like we've shit on this movie as much as we could. Like we still like this film. Like it's like the action scenes are really great. I really like the face melting scene at the end just because like that scene is just so iconic and it's meme to death like on Twitter. It's just it like absolutely incredible like special effects. But this film does not hold up. Alfie, what did you rate this on Letterboxd? I'm just curious.
I gave it a 3, I believe, like a 3 out of 5. But it was almost like a 2.5. But I was like, I give it a 3 just because I really like the action sequences. I really love them.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was like, I don't see myself like giving more than a 3 to this movie.
yeah. It's funny because I feel like you're a little bit harsher than I was, and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. So,
Yeah, it's just that I do like a lot, any film that has like this great like like a filmmaker really showcasing their directing skills. I really give that a lot of credit, and I think Raiders does have that.
Mhm.
So that's why I was like a 3. But also, it was a little. I have to admit, it was a little of social pressures because I was like, I don't know, like people already reacting to this 3. I don't know what would they say if I just gave it like a 2, and as well, since I was doing it due to to the Spielberg marathon, and I'm like, I don't think this movie is worse than The Color Purple. So, and I gave The Color Purple 2 stars, so I can't give it like less than that.
Right, right. Well, as you know, I just like the chaos, and that's why I rated it 2.5 out of 5. And I think this is the one thing I do like about Letterboxd is that I like that you can put rewatch. So I actually originally rated this 5, and then on a rewatch I rated it 2.5, and so there's that context there.
Yeah, that
Uh,
happens to me a lot. That happened to me with Interstellar, because I watched it like years ago, and I was like, I love this movie, and I gave it a 5 stars, and then I rewatched it like a couple of years. I think when Tenet was coming out, and I'm like, I don't like this movie.
no, I don't like it either. But there's still moments of Interstellar that I do kind of enjoy, but as a complete film, not uh, not really my favorite. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, that's
Alfie,
another. I'm not sure if that's in the top 250. I'm sure it is because people really like that movie for some reason.
I think it is, but it's later down the line. But but
Unfortunately, because why is that so high?
yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But that's probably a year and a half away from this series, which is kind of incredible. That if I'm still doing this in a year and a half, we'll see. Um, yeah. But Alfie, tell everyone online where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on Twitter. My username is Fonzie the Snowman. Marley follows me, so you can go ahead and um, follow me if you want as well. If you want to talk about movies, I'm not as hateful as I seem in this episode most of the time. Um, so yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not gonna like tell anyone that they're stupid or something because they like a movie, because I just assume that a movie is just not for me, but it's probably for someone else.
Exactly. Film is subjective. Like if you don't like it, then that's fine. And like that's the kind of the whole point of this
Yeah,
podcast. It's like let's
unless it's Cocaine Bear, because like how can you not like Cocaine Bear?
yeah, exactly. Future Oscar award winning. Like I'm when we're done broadcasting and recording this, I'm running to the theater to go watch Cocaine Bear.
Nice.
Yeah, all the links in the description will be uh, for Alfie. So go follow him if you love movies. Um, as for me, you can follow me at Marley Loves Film pretty much everywhere. That's my tag everywhere. I kind of lucked out to make that my username everywhere. You can follow me Marley Loves Film, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Letterboxd. Just follow me and we can talk about movies and also Fast and Furious too. So,
Nice.
know what? Know what? I'm giving myself a round of applause. I went an hour and 28 minutes into this episode without talking about Fast and Furious. I think that's a record for me.
Yeah, I think so, but we had to talk about Raiders, so at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. But if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and yeah. For the Real Lovers podcast, I'm Marley Silverbrand. Alfie.
Oh, sorry. And I'm Alfia Maya from the movie
And
rankings.
yeah. And we'll see you later. Okay. All right. Let's do that one again. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
yeah. Let's do that again. Just because I forgot to put
Yeah.
in what movie we're going to be talking about next week.
Okay.
Okay. Shoot. How am I going to say this?
What's the next movie?
It's Hold on. Let me just do three, two, one. All right. Basically, follow us everywhere, and yeah. Um, the next movie on the Letterboxd Top 250 series that we are doing is going to be Samurai Rebellion. You can watch it on the Criterion channel and join us back here on Thursday. It'll be the first movie in March, actually. So yeah, Samurai Rebellion. Check it out, and we'll be going live at roughly the same time. But check our socials for for all the happenings like going on. Like I said, follow me at Marley Loves Film, pretty much everywhere, and then the Real Lover Pod. All links will be in the description. And for the Real Lovers podcast, I'm Marley Silverbrand.
And I'm Alfonso Amaya from the Movie Ranking Space, and thank you, Marley, for having me again.
Oh, no problem. And uh, and um, and keep watching movies. All right. Have a good one.
Is that your closing line?
Yeah,
Your
I don't. I see.
what's it called? The tagline.
Yeah, no, I'm still working it out. Like I don't really like keep watching movies. I think I might just leave this in the recording, and
Nice.
but I don't know. Yeah, Alfie, thank you again for being on and so and being my buddy to shit on Raiders of the Lost Ark. So
Yeah, I kind of wish we had someone that really loved it. So, so we could. I mean, I guess it would have been a lot longer.
yeah, it probably would have been a lot longer, but I don't know. I think we brought pretty interesting perspective. So
Yeah, because I really wanted to hear like some because people that I know that love it. I'm like, but because why? But I just wanna like know their perspective, and they're just not able to explain it, and I'm like, then it's bad.
Mhm. Which, by the way, in the comments, just let us know. Just let us know, like if you like this film, or comment down below like what you liked about this film, because Alfie would like to read them,
Yes,
and you
please.
then yeah, yeah.
I, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. But yeah. I'm just going to slowly end out the broadcast. Yeah. Are you gonna watch Cocaine Bear tonight or?
I don't think so. I think I'm just gonna go to bed. Maybe on the weekend.
Oh, it's pretty late over there, right? For you?
Yeah. So
Yeah. My bad.
yeah.
All right. I'll let you go then. I'm just gonna end the broadcast right now. Thank you everyone for tuning in for the stream. All two of you.
Bye. Bye.
All right.